Content warning. The stories and themes shared throughout this podcast may contain themes that can be distressing for you. If needed, please pause and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. If needed, please reach out to a mental health professional for support.
Welcome back to another episode of Resilient AF. It's me, Blair.
Hi, and it's me, Alana.
Oh, it's us. It's us. My outfit's a little ridiculous today. I'm like covered
Yeah.
in paint and bruises and cuts. And I blame it on
Oh,
Concerta.
blame it on hashtag Concerta.
So I've been on like ADHD meds now for a month, and like the last, I guess like not last weekend, but the couple weekends leading up to this weekend, um like I've had things to do, meaning like closing up our summer spot at the lake to winterize it, work, like what getting ready for my TED Talk. But the last 2 weekends I've been at home. And like normally this time of year, it's like I'm depressed, which I still am, and I like can't get off the couch. And what I realized is that Concerta has given me back the energy that ADHD has taken from me, and that like I'm no longer in a like functional freeze. I don't know what the term is, but
Mm.
last weekend I aggressively cleaned like our little area. Like we have a TV in the basement. I cleaned that entire area and like organized my like basement gym area and made the decision that I was going to do some lipstick renos. And then like yesterday, I went really hard. When I say really hard, I mean really hard. Like 4 hours
Hmm.
of like cleaning and painting and taping and priming and all the things not in that order. And like it's interesting because I've actually never really seen this version of me, like this energized version where I don't feel like all I can do is lie on the couch because I've been masking all week. And it's actually really refreshing. Except for like I got really ambitious yesterday and I was trying to paint an area and I didn't do things in the right order because I'm chaotic. And I went to like stand on my knees on a shelf and the shelf gave out and I fell like 2.5 feet and like really badly hurt myself and ended up going to the ER. I'm fine. I'm not broken, but who would have thought painting a bathroom in the basement to look less murdery and more zen would land you in the ER? But anyways, I was just thinking about like, would I be doing this without Concerta? And I'm pretty sure the answer is heck no.
No, and it's interesting that you say like what ADHD took from you, and that's an interesting way to frame it. I don't know if I would frame it that way. I think because I'm not you, and I witness the other parts of you where you are on and masking and whatnot. So I've seen this, maybe not to this extent,
No, like I
but
never to this extent.
no, but I've definitely seen like you get passionate, but with that ADHD like burnout where it's like you get passionate and then you stop or you get distracted with another passion
Yeah.
and then another passion. And so this is the first time I've seen you, I want to say,
Focus.
yeah, focused, like, but focused for because you have been focused before, but this is like focused to the extreme, like 10 hours of focus. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Well, yeah, like I'm really good at the like masking hyper focus when I have a deadline, but there's no deadline. I just want the bathroom to be like more zen.
But
But
even so, with your masking hyper focus, it's like you would do it and then you would take a break and watch Housewives. And then you
yeah,
would do it. But this one, it's like, no, 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 you went hard. You
yeah,
only
like
stopped because you had to
I
wait for
stopped
things
because
to
I fell.
dry.
I stopped.
And
No, I stopped because I fell through a shelf.
right, that
I fell through a
that too.
shelf and then my knee swelled up and I thought I was gonna barf. And then you told me I should go to the ER, so I did. And I
Well,
just want to
because
say
she was trying to,
shout out
sorry.
to the Kamloops Hospital ER department. Saturday night on Halloween, I was expecting, I mean, this was evening, but I was a Saturday before Halloween. I was expecting to walk into people in costumes and it be really like basically be really busy. And I'm like, I was expecting like a 5, 6 hour wait. I was in and out in like an hour and a half, and that was with triage, x-rays, seeing the doctor. Like the doctor, yeah, anyways, he's just like, it's very badly bruised. Like you need to stay off of it.
Well, the reason why I encouraged Blair to go to the ER is because she wanted to show me what she had accomplished on FaceTime, and she couldn't walk down the stairs or up. She had to use her bum to get up.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, I went to the doctor. I'm glad I did. No one was in costumes, which was very disappointing, but they just opened a new ER department, and I think it's been like a couple days. So it felt really clean and fresh. And so shout out to the doctors and Kamloops Hospital and the ER department. I got paint in my hair. Look at that. And the other thing I want to say is about the Concerta, and I'm trying to do this on my own because if I can do this little lipstick reno on my own, meaning like I'm not renovating extreme, I'm like painting and making it like not from the 80s and more zen and more comfortable for me to have like relaxing baths. If I can do this, then I can do other renovations in the house, and we've lots to do. And I can't finish all the renos, but I'm learning. And so I thought like the basement bathroom, like it's our third bathroom, could be a good practice one. But Shane is now helping me because Kyle lied. And Kyle, the manager at the Home Depot, helped me pick out the floors. And he told me the ones I got were really easy to use and really easy to cut to the right size. But there's Shane's struggling, and I maybe the knife isn't sharp enough. I don't know, but he I guess he wanted to he wanted to get me started to make sure and to show me how to do it properly. Wouldn't be mad if all of a sudden it was done. But
Mm.
I'm learning that some things I like to do, like painting, and that I'm very messy at it, and some things are harder. Like, well, I haven't tried doing this yet, but Kyle lied. How's it been going with you?
Uh, Good. Um, the what have I been up to? Not any lipstick renos, I could tell you that.
No, you've been doing
I
the
Yeah, the diamond painting. I got back into it. I had a phase earlier this year and I'm back into it. So I've made
I think it's brought you
coasters.
lots of joy.
Well, what I love about it is so what diamond painting is, for those who don't know, it's essentially like it's like this like repetitive thing. It's like paint by numbers, but instead of paint, it's these colored gems. And so I've made some bookmarks and coasters. And what I love about this is it helps me really focus on audiobooks, and I love audiobooks. And so I've been powering through some right now, which has been good for my mood because, yeah, I've just needed a little bit of a mood booster more recently. And it's helped and it's fun. And so I mean, no falling through shelves this weekend, just Pilates and diamond painting, which is fantastic. And I watched countless hours of TV,
That's
which is what I
amazing.
needed. Yeah.
Yeah. The decompression, well, when you like work the work you do in palliative and
Hmm.
hospice and like holding space and I don't actually know your day to day because we have to still talk about that. And I think this is a good space to do that, maybe another episode. But the ways that you decompress are always changing. But if your body's like just lie on the couch and watch some TV and do some diamond painting or listen to a book, like do it. I mean, I think that rest is when we're doing the real work. We need rest. And it's so interesting because like I am that person who likes to do that. But it's like I can't sit. It's like all of a sudden I'm rearranging my office. Like today, in between the paints drying, paint layer of paint drying, and I had coffee with a friend, and then I vacuumed my car. And then I organized
Mm.
clothes I want to sell and donate. And I'm like, who is this person? Where has she been? And like, but to me, it's like I realized resting was like I was in buffer mode,
Yeah.
buffering. But sometimes like what you did is yeah, like the wheel
Right.
of death.
Yeah.
But like sometimes, you just feel like, okay, I need to catch up on like all the Grey's Anatomy and like
Hmm.
that's cool too. But I love that. And so today I was inspired about this topic through Dr. Claire Bidwell Smith. I'm in a grief and loss training program. By the time this episode comes out, I will be certified in this program in grief and loss. But we talked about something that I didn't know there was a term for it, but very relatable. And it's called the continuing bonds theory. Alana, do you want me to explain what it is?
Please do.
It's the idea that the grieving is a process of modifying our relationship with a person who has died rather than releasing that bond altogether. So it's about holding on to the person who's no longer with us in the physical sense. And this can be through items, rituals, behaviors, things that we do. And Alana and I literally dove into this world, the continuing bond, um,
Hmm.
like right after mom died. Some stuff Alana and I have done together, some stuff we do separately. And I think this can be a really beautiful conversation about how do we continue holding on to that relationship with mom and with dad and anyone else that has gone, you know, into, while we still walk this earth?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I would say it's something, even though we didn't know this term until very recently, it is something we have been doing since day one, and day one being February 23rd, 2021. And took some notes before this just because I was thinking of the different ways that I hold on to these relationships. And for me, it's easier to think of things with our mom rather than our dad, just in the nature of our relationship. And um, it even makes me think. So I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent before we go into this topic more. Blair had sent me this podcast episode earlier this week uh, that Brene Brown released with her sisters, and they were talking about the grief with their mom and the different ways they experienced grief as their mom had, I believe, dementia or Alzheimer's. Um, but there was this one conversation that made me think of me and Blair and our relationship together when it came to being sentimental, because I would say I'm very sentimental and nostalgic when it comes to our mom. And Blair, maybe I would say, is more practical and um, in relation to our mom. And what this like initially made me think about when I think of the continued bonds is our childhood home. So I didn't really want to sell the house. And I didn't even want to have that conversation like after mom died. But then when we decided we would have to, and we would have to clean up the house together,
Clean
we
up, like as
arranged,
in pack up and clean it out.
yeah, yeah. We arranged to be in Winnipeg at the same time. But then I had this like moment of like, oh, but I'm not ready yet. So I actually flew back to Winnipeg because I was living in Toronto at the time, to the house for, I think it was 2 weeks ahead of Blair.
Did you?
Just, yeah,
I don't even remember.
yeah, just so I like, and I was working technically. But I did that so I could look at every little piece of paper and picture and decide what to do with it, because I knew as soon as Blair came in, she would be like a tornado and be like, "All right, what are we throwing out? What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, come on, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta move." And so I was just thinking about that podcast, and Brene Brown being the non-sentimental one and her sisters being the more sentimental one. And Brene Brown is the older one, so it checks out because Blair is the older one and
That's
had a different
funny.
relationship with mom than I did.
Well,
So,
and that house signified a lot, right? Like,
hmm.
mom and dad split and we were living in a rental townhouse, and then mom in her early 30s got to a point where she could afford to buy a house, and that house signified freedom for me, you and her, and like a really
Hmm.
established a sense of like independence. And you and I both had very different experiences growing up. We're very different people, and that's not for this episode, but could be a very good episode talking about that. But for me, obviously the trauma was there, losing mom, and I was sitting with her for her last week and seeing her in her bedroom, and like I just wanted to get that house out of my life by then because I watched her die in it.
Mm.
And um like I'll never forget, like when we were leaving, we got a picture of us in front of Waterloo, and one of my friends, Pam, is an architect, and she actually drew out a picture of Waterloo for me and for Alana and put it in a frame.
Hmm.
And it's
It's
really
an
beautiful to have that memory. And, I think like that's enough for me. And I'm, there was a time and a place to go down memory lane for the good stuff and the bad stuff. And, that house was full of
Yeah,
treasures and trauma.
treasures and trauma. We talk big T, little T, and other T's.
Yeah. But yeah, so how do you hold on to Waterloo?
The um Well, I have that picture that um, Blair was talking about in my living space, and so I see it every morning. Um, if I think of like the continued bonds theory, like obviously that house is no longer our house. I actually went in and the new owner gave me a tour recently and
Got a pile of
the
bills that will not get paid.
yeah, a pile of mail. That's the reason I went. And then she gave me a tour. But and I started opening up bills from like to 2022. It's like, okay, she's dead. Um, but I think more of what was in the house because like a house is a house. There's that song like a house is not a home or a home, whatever. And so I think of certain memories of my relationship to mom within that house. And the first thing I think of is mugs. And actually, I was FaceTiming Blair this morning using one of those mugs. So it's a branded, so our mom was a dental hygienist. And so often sale reps would go into her work and there was a gum, like GUM branded mug that I used when I lived on Waterloo, but also anytime I came home to visit, that was like my coffee mug. It's like I would drink it, rinse it out, and use it for my whole visit. And so whenever I drink from it, I think of mom. That's a pretty tangible one. And then, I mean, obviously, I have Plant Sharon.
Oh yes,
Um,
Plant Sharon, the plant that would never die that Rhonda revived.
yeah, it's probably older than Blair and I.
This
Well, it is
plant was like
older.
basically dead, and like we sort of started watering it after mom died and it came back to life, and we left it with a friend.
Hmm.
And she
Yeah.
came to life, and we named her Plant Sharon after our
Yes.
mom.
So Rhonda fostered Plant Sharon, and now I have Plant Sharon right next to me. You can't see her, but she's thriving. So there's things like that that are like again, like the tangible things, but then there's the like not so tangible, like music or certain smells that I hold on
Like
to. The
sneeze.
sneeze, but also like summer sweat.
Summer sweat and sneeze. Take me right back.
And just like those types of like it's like when I get a whiff of myself in the summer, I'm like, "Oh, I smell like your mom."
That's good.
But
I
yeah,
love
so
it.
those are like some things at the top of my head, like music and TV and whatnot. Like basically, I can find anything and make it relate to mom. And with dad,
Wait, hold on. You
uh,
didn't talk about the most important thing.
oh, the tattoo.
So like
Oh
literally
yes,
mom
of
died in the height
course.
of COVID and like
Sorry, it just happened so fast.
immediately we're like, let's get her signature because her handwriting's super pretty. Is your arm available to show?
Yeah.
So like so basically we found her passport, lifted up the logo and like got a tattoo artist to I don't know if it was illegal because I don't know what the rules are at that point for COVID, but she agreed to tattoo our mom's signature on our right wrists. And like I love it because like when I'm writing, I see it. When I like it's very visible and it feels like she's always
Hmm.
with us. Well, it
Yeah,
feels
it's
like she's always with
beautiful.
me. Yeah.
And it was very impulsive for me because this is my only tattoo I have at this point. And it was 3 days after the funeral, I think. I think it was February
It was right away.
27th. Yeah, it was very soon. Like mom was not even cold yet. We got her tattoo.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
so this is like a beautiful one because I look at it every day and it's a nice reminder um, of just like mom's always with us. And then
Yeah.
like for dad, it's just
Yeah.
like more silly things like Salisbury House, like the restaurant in Winnipeg. Um, just I this I just think of his like last week watching the Super Bowl halftime show
Dr.
with Dr.
Dre.
Dre. Like I have like different types of memories and again just like different relationship. And so but there's like certain things and actually a lot of my new job, like just what I've been learning in my job actually brings me back to dad. Not in a triggering way by any means, just like helps me understand because he was in palliative for so long, um, that it's like now I can understand all the things that he went through in a different way. So those, I would say, yeah, those are just some. I mean, I could go all day, but I
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah, that was really beautiful, Alana. I love it. Thanks. That's good. That's
The
good for
summer
pep.
sweat. So beautiful.
Oh my God, I love it. So I don't if I don't think of mom when I smell my own sweat, but only when when I do smell sneeze. But a couple other ways I want to throw in that like I like because what you basically there's certain things like I have some mugs from mom and certain things, so it's very similar.
Hmm.
But also there's a rose bush called the Rose of Sharon that actually isn't a rose bush. It's called Rose of Sharon, but I have that at my house and we planted it when we moved in and it's really beautiful and I got to watch it flower, which I
Mm.
really loved and knowing it's like right under my office window is really special. And yeah, just other things like I we never really had to pay for like toothbrushes or floss, and you might
Hmm.
still not have to because you live in Winnipeg where mom's office is, but like it's
Yeah,
like every time I run out of
they always give me
floss,
two.
yeah, every time I run out of floss or like have to go buy floss or toothbrush, toothpaste, it's funny because like it really makes me miss mom, but it's also like I am doing dental care. Like she will be so proud.
Mm.
With dad, towards the end, he thought he was at work. Like he was living in palliative, he had a computer set up and he was convinced that like he was like working a day at the office. And, I remember he had a list. Alana saw it on, his whiteboard of like what he needed to buy, like Gitch, socks, like, I don't know, underwear, which is Gitch. And anyways, so when I got to Winnipeg and he was like on his way out, he really like he was just so convinced that he needed some new socks, new sweatpants, new hoodie, like a bunch of stuff. So I went and got him, like I went to Joe Fresh for you out there in America. It's like a Target. Like I went to Superstore, I got some Joe Fresh socks and I got a zip up gray hoodie. And I can't remember what else I got. But we had to give them to the hospital to label with his name. And we didn't get it back till like after he died or like the day, like it was already too late. Like,
Hmm.
and so my dad never wore the hoodie, but I took it home with me. So I wear it all the time. And like I put it on to go to the gym and I love it because it has like the tag like with his like
Mm.
name in the room he was in. And also I have a pair of his sweatpants. I don't wear them anymore. I did in the beginning, but then I realized like I don't know if I want to wear his sweatpants. I have no idea what went on in there, but I have them
Yeah.
and like if I'm really griefy for him like I wear the hoodie, but also he did not have many belongings and we actually found some stuff that belonged to him when we were packing mom's house. And I have two items that mean a lot to me that sit with me in my office. And when I travel for work, I like to bring one of them with me. So I have a jewelry loop, which is like a little magnifying glass. He was a gemologist, and that just
Hmm.
sits with me in my office. And the other thing is a money clip. It's like a gold monogrammed money clip with LIK, Leonard Ian Kaplan. And I just found it just so interesting because money was always such a like he didn't have any, but he had a lot and developed an addiction, and then he had none. And all like a lot of tension was around money in, our family and him not paying child support or mom having to fight with him for money or like him not having any money. And it's just so interesting that one of the very few things that was left behind on this earth that were his was a money clip. And so I like
Hmm.
to have it with me just to remind me about the journey that we've been on. And also, it feels like having a part of the successful version of him because my
Mm.
brain's a lot like his. And he was a very brilliant man, entrepreneur. And, unfortunately, drugs took him down and up really high.
Up, up, up. Literally to the
But
sky.
yeah, like when I travel, like especially if I'm going to the US and taking cash, which don't take cash to the US, no one takes cash. But yeah, it's nice to have that. But yeah, songs as well. Like I actually just recently changed my ringtone to a Dr. Dre song.
I didn't know you could still change ringtones to
I bought it
songs.
for 99 cents.
You buy them?
Yeah.
That's so 2005.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted like anyways, that's me singing. So, and then there's things that we've done to create rituals, right? Like what the first couple years we were just trying to survive.
Hmm.
But our mom's birthday is January 17th. And I really liked what we did for her last birthday. And we each got a dessert and we put a candle in it and we FaceTimed and we sang happy birthday to her. And I thought that was
Yeah.
really like a really beautiful way to honor her earth birth.
Yeah. And I think I typically will order either Greek food because she loved Greek food or Santa Lucia, which was a restaurant her near her work. They would always get it for her and Jeannie's cake, this like Winnipeg cake. And so I usually do that around her birthday too, which is like a nice honoring because I'm sure she's having Jeannie's cake wherever she is.
And it's moist.
And it's moist and the cookie is
Mm.
fresh.
And she's not going to go home and barf. That's what happened to me on
Yeah.
my, yeah. And then, like I think we don't really do much for dad's birthday, and I don't know if we will this year, but I don't know. I don't I think the way we honor mom is really beautiful. And also the way we honor the day they left this earth. We have something called Grief Week. If you're new to here, we'll give you a little rundown. If not, like Grief Week, it's a beautiful way to honor our parents. They died in the same week, but a year apart. February 18th, our father left,
Hmm.
died. Our mom died February 23rd. And so Alana and I live in different parts of Canada, and February is usually the coldest month. And so we made the decision we're going to be warm and sad together instead of alone,
Hmm.
cold and sad. And we're going into our third official grief week this year. It's in February, obviously. We're not in February yet. And we're kind of trying to see what's right for us. And I think it's going to always maybe evolve and change depending on where we are at in life and what we need. But this year we're going to be going to Palm Springs, which was it was the last family vacation we all had
Yeah.
together. And it's great because some of our mom's friends are there and family, and like we're at a point where like a lot of our friends and our friends' kids are there. So it's nice, especially because I don't see these people because I live in a different part of Canada than our mom's friends and whatnot. But we both love Palm Springs. And so
Hmm.
I think, yes, we're there while they died, but it's a really beautiful time to reflect about all the things that we loved about them. Like this one restaurant that's like a cruise ship on land, and like they have
Oh
like
my gosh, I forgot about that.
and I'm excited to go there. But yeah, like our very last time there with mom, like me and her had a very big blowout.
And it was all about a
It's because
mom
mom's
looking at her
friend
Fitbit
texted.
notification.
It's because it's like mom's friend like texted her and she was getting her text on her Fitbit. And she just like all of a sudden, like while being present with me and Alana, like would disconnect and like go to her phone. I'm like, you can wait. Cause like her anxiety, like she would have to respond to messages right away.
Yeah, that's where I
And,
get mine from.
and, yeah, she didn't like that I asked her to not do that. And it became a fight. That's fine
And
though.
I was in the middle of it.
We only fought like that when you were around. We never had blowouts unless you were there.
Well, I'm
It's okay. We
special.
said it, that's why the boundary was there where like if we went on vacation together, I would not share a room with the both of you, only one of you.
Yeah.
Oh man, life. That's so funny. But yeah, and I think it's also kind of fun to think about like some of the things that like the shenanigans. Like we were literally in this middle of this restaurant for like a senior special dinner and like
It was like 4:30 p.m.
yeah, we had this fight. It was just so silly. Anyways,
Oh.
so like when we go to Palm Springs, there's a really good chance that we're gonna go back to this restaurant because like it just reminds us of mom.
Of mom, yeah. And like, oh
Yeah, it's just
man,
like
that was the best Airbnb experience we had there, staying when we
that
went
was
with
a pretty
mom.
good family trip.
That was a great family trip.
And mom was like, I want to come do this every year. And then the pandemic
Yeah.
happened
And
and
then
then
she
she
died.
died.
She wouldn't have made it to the next year trip, even if there wasn't a pandemic, because she died.
Yeah.
But it was a great trip.
So, anyways, yeah. So I mean, I think like there's lots of other ways, some of the other ways just to kind of wrap things up. When mom passed away, she let us know where all the jewelry was that she inherited from her grandma and from her mom and her stuff. And so Alana and I took it. And since it was, um, heirloom and vintage, we actually melted down the gold and took diamonds and we remade jewelry with it. We have matching
Hmm.
rings, and I really love it because it's like we have something that we each have that's part of
Hmm.
mom and part of baba. And I think it's really
Yeah.
awesome that we have that. So jewelry is a really great way, like, wearing jewelry of those who are gone from us. I know a lot of people like wear wedding bands like of like their parents. And or earrings that, once was their mother's. Like we have this one necklace. I have this one necklace that I found one day when I was like a kid, and it was mom's that she never wore, and she like bought it in Israel, and I was wearing it, and then one day she's like, I want it back, and then she like wore it all the time. So when she died, I now have it, but it's like kind of more on my altar on display because like I don't want anything to happen to it. But
Is that
jewelry
the one
is
with the two balls?
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, wearing clothes, wearing their jewelry, that's another great way. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Eating
Pictures.
like pictures, eating the food that she liked to
Ooh,
eat.
animals, birds, like butterflies. When I sometimes butterflies come around and I feel like they're being sent from our parents, but not just butterflies, eagles. I see
Mm.
a lot of eagles, and it's always when I need to see them. I'll be thinking about something specific or looking for answers. And so I'm very grateful where I live. There's lots of wildlife, but eagles and birds.
Mm. Interestingly, just a quick little anecdote as we wrap up, but bringing it back to the whole bill conversation we brought up, I guess somewhere in the house there was like something, but it was like a note of mom. It was in this thing of like mom's writing like numbers down. Like I don't know where it was. Maybe in the island because I know she still has the island, but it moved it to somewhere else. But I don't know where she found it, but it was like my mom doing math on like a real estate notepad sheet, you know?
That's kind of I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's so interesting. Actually, that's actually the perfect like launch into the final thing I want to talk about today. So, having a note from your parents or grandparents or someone that passed away tattooed on you is a really beautiful way to honor them. And Alana and I obviously have our mother's signature, but I also got a message that I found on the back of a photo. And the photo, I'm winning an award in grade 5 for being a nice person, a mensch. And my mom was there and watched me win this award. And that's a big deal because I don't win awards and I didn't win awards. And she never took time off work. So she took time to come and watch me win this award. And the picture's hilarious. I look super dorky and like in grade 5. And anyways, I found this photo in the spring and I FaceTimed Alana and I wanted to show her it and I showed it to her and I turned it around and on the back of the photo was a message that she wrote almost 30 years ago. And the message was in her writing and it said, proud of you. And I immediately cried and I was like, this is amazing. I felt her and I was like, I'm going to get it tattooed on my leg. And so I got it tattooed on my leg because I was doing a hike, but really I just need this message every day. That's really beautiful. And every time I make a post on social media about it, people immediately share their tattoos and the stories behind it. And so Alana and I decided our next book, well, we're going to be working on 2 books at the same time. So Resilient AF Stories of Resilience Volume 2 comes out in January 2025. But right now we're
Mhm.
accepting submissions for Resilient AF Stories of Resilience Volume 3, but also our new concept book, Resilient AF Skin Deep Stories. We want to
Mhm.
see we want to showcase and see your tattoos of resilience, your tattoo and the story behind it. Because when we go through something and we get something tattooed on us, there's usually a really beautiful story full of lessons on there. And I know that like I love talking about my tattoos, and a lot of people do too. So if you're interested in being in either of these, if you don't have a tattoo with a story, that's completely fine. We have Resilient AF Stories of Resilience Volume 3, but we are accepting submissions also with your tattoos. And we want to
Mhm.
showcase your story of resilience. And it's just I think a really beautiful way to honor that trials and tribulations that we are going through, that we've been through, that we will be going through. And when we mark those significant times in our life with ink, permanent ink, the world deserves to know the story.
Completely.
I love it. Do you have anything else you want to throw in today, little sister?
No, I'm feeling good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Resilient AF. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. If you like this episode and you missed our, last one, please go back and have a little listen. We got more coming out that come out every week. We're going to be interviewing people who have shared their stories in our community, people who will be sharing our stories, and other mental health professionals. And so we got a lot of really great interviews coming up. Remember, it is okay to not be okay. You will bounce forward. You will get through it because you, my friend, are resilient AF. That's a wrap for another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. And thank you for listening. Are you feeling inspired to bounce forward?
Let's connect at theglobalresilienceproject.com, where you can read many stories of resilience, buy our books, shop our clothing line, learn more about how to strengthen your resilience muscle, be empowered, and more.
Remember, friends, you are resilient AF.